Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Collectors with Cards Drinking Coffee. Today, we have a new type of guest, someone that uh, I'm a little ashamed to say here, but the first person I'm a little bit nervous to talk with because he's a professional podcaster. So uh, he might be able to pick me apart a little bit here, but obviously in all good fun and constructive criticism, hopefully. But today we have Pat Flynn, also known as Deep Pocket Monster, here on YouTube. Just started a new Pokemon channel. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. And please, there will be no judgment because I feel like you're going to quiz me. Like, I feel like you're going to show a picture of a Pokemon and be like, name this Pokemon. I'm going to be like, I have no clue. So I guess we're both in this together. I'm sort of new to the space and collectibles and investing into this. And then you're new in podcasting. Like, dude, I'm just so stoked that you're doing this. And I'm just, first of all, I got to say thank you to you and Squeaks and your other show and just you and all the great guests that you have on. Just it's been so informative and so helpful. And I know that as a podcaster, I like to hear when the shows matter, and it does matter. And I appreciate you a lot
Thank
for that.
you, thank you. Yeah, it's really incredible. I'm getting so much love and support right now, and I mean, although it's quite small, I just feel like the I guess the percentage of amount of people that reach out is quite large. So I'm having a great time doing this. I'm so happy to have found this kind of place within the Pokemon community, as a lot of us struggle to find where we want to be in our hobbies or in our life, just in general. So,
Mhm.
um, why don't we have you talk about yourself a little bit here? Maybe a little elevator pitch of who Pat Flynn is for those that don't know who you are. Even for myself, uh, let's hear a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Live in San Diego. First and foremost, I'm a father and a husband. I have two beautiful kids, 8 and 11 here. And I'm just so grateful that the way my life panned out, I'm able to spend most of my day and most of my time with them. And the reason that happened was I have to take you back into time a little bit, into the DeLorean, if you will,
Mhm.
and take you back to June 17th, 2008. And this is when really everything changed for me because before then, I was on this trajectory to be an architect, in fact, for the rest of my life. I had gone to school, getting perfect grades. I just studied. Everything was all about getting the best grades and education. And I went to Berkeley and, go Bears and, graduated magna cum laude there. And it's just I became an architect and I was like, great, or I was on my way to becoming an architect. And then all of a sudden, June 17th, 2008, many of you might remember 2008 as being sort of the last time a whole wave of people lost their jobs. And I was a statistic during that time. I lost my job and I didn't have a plan B. I didn't know what I was going to do. In fact, I fell into a pretty deep state of depression for about a month, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing where I was going. Timing wise, I had just literally proposed to my girlfriend. We were supposed to get married. So to save money, I moved back in with my parents. And, that's not the direction a young adult wants to go. And,
Mhm.
I'm saving up for this wedding and just like things are spiraling down. And that's kind of around the time when podcasts, in fact, were sort of just starting to come out. And I discovered this podcast called Internet Business Mastery. And then on that show, I heard an interview with a guy named Cornelius Fitchner, who was helping people pass the project management exam, the PM exam. And he said he was making six figures a year doing that. And I just like, I'd never fathomed like the ability to just go online, provide information like on a blog and make any money, let alone like a six-figure business. And that was my aha moment because to become an architect, I had to take a ton of exams. One of them, the more recent one that I had taken as I was getting laid off, was called the LEED exam, LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Super niche. Like nobody's ever heard of this unless you're in the building and design space. It's about like green and environmental buildings and such. And that gave me the idea to start posting online to help people pass that exam. I'd just taken it. I didn't get a perfect score, but I just knew how the exam worked. And within a couple months, I started having a ton of people reaching out to me asking for more help. I was actually very involved. I was spending 4 to 5 hours a day on forums, just trying to help people and kind of show up. And as a result, I saw that many people were recommending my website to others for help. And then a few months later, I had this idea from the Internet Business Mastery podcast again, and I joined their group and got to know them a little bit. They said, Pat, you should write an ebook. And I was like, what's an ebook? I have no idea what that means. And they're like, well, just put your notes on a PDF file and sell it. And I was like, you can do that? And they're like, yeah, here's some of the tools you can use. And I was like, okay. And so I spend a month taking all the information I knew, putting it into a PDF file. I used a tool called eJunkie that allowed me to take this PDF and put a button on my website so that when people click the button, they pay me via PayPal, and then the book gets automatically delivered to them. I remember putting it up at, I don't know, 2 in the morning one night. I finally launched it after being so scared. I went to bed, I woke up, no sales. I take a walk, I come back to the computer, no sales. I'm like, "Oh, man, I of course this isn't gonna work." Like, I didn't go to business school. None of this was ever meant to be like my dad was even saying like, "Oh, well, like, you can give it a shot, but if it doesn't work, you can go get your master's degree and, come out, with more education so you can get a better job once we all get out of this." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, but I did everything right and I still got let go. What the heck?" So anyway, I go on another walk or I have lunch or something. I come back and I see a email from PayPal. It says notification of payment received. It was like $18.19 because fees.
Mhm.
And I was stoked. I was like, holy crap. I cannot believe this worked. And then all of a sudden, those feelings of euphoria turned like in a snap to, oh my gosh, what if this guy doesn't like it? What if he thinks it's terrible? What if like the FBI comes and they arrest me? Like, of course, that would never happen. But when you're doing something new, like your brain starts thinking the worst case scenarios and we don't use logic anymore. So I went on a walk because I was literally hyperventilating. I couldn't believe I'd made $18 online doing this. And I came back to my computer. Another sale happened while I was on a walk. And I was like, holy crap. Mid-month, I started receiving emails from these people who were purchasing. And every time I got an email, I was so scared. I was like, oh man, this is it. This is the guy who's going to tell me I'm a scammer or something like that. All the emails were like, thank you so much. You helped me pass the exam. I got a raise because of you and all this stuff. And I was just like, holy crap. And they're calling me by name. And that's the craziest part. They're like, Pat, thank you. Pat, thank you.
Mhm.
Because as an architect, I worked my butt off, like literally 10, 12 hours a day, doing more than I was asked of. And my fingerprint is on dozens of buildings around the United States as, a drafter and a job captain. Nobody will ever know that. Like, I couldn't prove that to you. But I have these emails that say, Pat, thank you for helping me pass this exam. And that's when I knew. I was like, wow, this is incredible. So at the end of that month, I actually built another website because I had to share this. I was like, guys, there's this thing. It's like for real. And you don't have to be like a snake oil salesman to do it. You can actually get thanked and help people online. And so I built smartpassiveincome.com, which is where most people know me from now. And I just started to just share everything, including how much money I was making, how many customers I had, how much money I was spending, the whole thing. And apparently, other people online who were teaching business were not doing that.
Mhm.
They were more the get rich quick scheme kind of guys. And a lot of people saw that I was just being very open with this and just everybody started gravitating toward this. And they especially liked that I was like the guy who was doing it just because he wanted to survive and he wanted to support his family. I didn't have mansions or cars in my garage or, I read books, but not one a day and all that kind of stuff. So it just took off from there, and then the blog turned into this massive community. I started to go deeper with YouTube. I actually started my YouTube channel for the Pat Flynn channel in 2009. Started podcasting in 2010. I started speaking in 2011. I wrote my first book in 2013, and then first online course was created in 2017. And now 2021, I've generated over $5.8 million online through different means of helping and serving others. That architecture website's still up. I've never touched it for the last 4 years, and it continues to bring people in through Google and
Wow.
serve them this ebook or point people toward other resources that I get a commission for. And so that's kind of on autopilot. And that's kind of what I do now. I like build these businesses, I set them up, and then I either automate them through tools or, hire people to run them. And then I move on to the next thing. Cause as an entrepreneur and my personality, I just like want to keep scratching different itches. And it's just really cool. My latest project was actually in partnership with my videographer. A couple of years ago, we went to this event called Vid Summit, and we started noticing that all these people who were YouTubers were using the Gorilla Pod, the like flexible, bendy tripod, to hold their
Mhm.
cameras out, and they would put them together and kind of bend them in a way that would get their camera out a little bit further from them. And my brain was just like, "That's weird. That's like not what it was meant for." Isn't there like a solution for vloggers that would make that easier? Because you'd see them like struggling, and me and Caleb, my partner, were like, "Let's like build a solution." And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to do physical product." He's like, "I don't know how." Well, there are people who've done this before, so we know it's not impossible. Let's go find those people and let's talk to them. So we started talking to people, and then all of a sudden, February of 2019, we launch our product. It's called the Switch Pod on Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is great because you can see if like this thing's going to work or not. And our funding goal is $100,000, 60-day campaign. If we can earn $100,000, we could have the money to create the molds to manufacture this thing. We ended up making $100,000 in 11 hours and 26 minutes.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, this is interesting because this relates to the Pokemon stuff now that I'm doing. The reason why that worked so well was because we had spent months, if not over a year, building relationships in that space,
Mm.
learning about who the YouTubers were, asking what they wanted. So this tool, I actually have it right here. It's called the Switch Pod. I'm not here to sell it, by the way. This thing, you put your camera on here, and when you want to put it down, tripod mode in just a flash,
Mhm.
and it's easy, it's light, you can travel with it, etc. This was designed from the customers who we were designing for.
Mm.
I once heard a quote. It was like, you don't want to build, you don't want to find customers for your products. You want to build products for your customers.
Mm.
And that's sort of what I'm doing now in the Pokemon space with Deep Pocket Monster. I'm just kind of learning and trying to, like you said, find your space in here. And I'm just seeing what people like, what people don't like, and what's missing out there. And I'm trying to add my own flavor. And I'm getting really involved in a lot of communities and reaching out to people who I just appreciate and trying to add value to them first because that's what it's about, serving first. And that's kind of my style of business. That's my style of relationships is, what can I do to help you first? And, it's going to come back in some way. I don't, I'm not going to force that. It's just, that's the way the universe works, the law of reciprocity. So, um, sorry, I've been talking a lot. I just get
No,
super
that's
stoked on this kind of stuff. So,
I mean, there were a lot of points that I wanted to stop you, but it was like I saw so much of what how I feel and what I'm trying to do right now out of what you just spoke of. So there's so many pieces in
yeah,
there
let's talk about it.
that I want to pick apart. I mean, just real quick off the relationship thing, like you said. I mean, uh, it's pretty obvious that you're a smart guy. You know what you're doing. I see you in the comments of just about every PokeTuber, large, small, uh, trying to connect, learn, create with these guys. And it's funny to see the full circle of talking with PokeRev about you in our
Oh, that was a
podcast
great interview.
and how he had watched you early on, and then now you're here on my podcast, and it's amazing how relationships just create so many opportunities for everybody. So, yeah, I was doing a podcast with another guy the other day, and he said he had just been speaking with you. You are everywhere right now in the Pokemon scene. So, I mean, it's
Sorry,
definitely
everybody.
no, it's great. I think it's awesome. I mean, especially with the just inherent growth of long form content with Pokemon. I mean, we've been kind of stuck in this age of pack openings, which we all love, and I think we will all continue to love. But there's been this missing piece of podcasts and even kind of informative videos like yourself that you're doing, which we'll pick apart as well because I'm very interested in your intentions and goals with your Pokemon account. Um, so that's absolutely incredible. I mean, podcasting. How many downloads have you gotten now off of your main podcast? There, Smart Passive Income.
Yeah, that's my main show. I have 4 other shows, one in fact with my son, but on the main show, we are approaching episode 500.
Hmm.
Started July 2010. We have about 68 million downloads,
Wow.
which is just stupid. It's just like I'm in here in my office and like I'm just a dude, and I bring guests on sometimes. Sometimes it's solo shows where I try
Mm.
to pick apart a topic. And I think this podcasting is amazing because when you really look at the numbers, we're actually still quite early in the world of podcasting. That's why I think it's so smart that you're starting this. And we only just passed 1 million total podcasts in April 2020. There are 500 million active blogs. There's 50 million active YouTube channels. We just hit 1 million podcasts. And when you really crunch the numbers of like behavior of consumption, like think about this. When people are reading a blog post, I mean, you might read for 5, 10 minutes. You're not even reading every word. You're skipping around. There's distractions. You might exit. On a YouTube video, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, especially my main channel, like if I get people to watch 5 to 6 minutes of my video, like I'm happy. Like
Hmm.
that's great, you know? Um, and in social media, it's like a minute and then it's gone. A podcast, I mean, people are listening for a half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, Joe Rogan for 6 hours. It's like you can't do that with any other form of content. And it's because you can just listen,
Hmm.
right? You can pop it on the car, you can do it while at the gym, you can, listen while doing the dishes or whatever. Um, I hope you're not watching videos while driving, but it's like it's amazing, and with the voice and the emotion behind it, it's so much more powerful than the written word. It's so much easier to produce than having to worry about lighting and camera work and makeup if that's your thing. With video, it's just a huge opportunity. And when it comes to connections, especially nowadays where we're craving connection, when we hear a podcast and we see somebody or hear somebody who's talking about the stuff that we're into, it's like, that's my guy, right? Or
Hmm.
that's my girl. Like, I'm gonna listen to them. I'm gonna subscribe. And guess what happens? When you listen to somebody for that long, you become a fan.
Hmm.
My latest book is called Super Fans, and it's about these moments that you can create for people over time so that they just wave your flag high in front of everybody. And the cool thing about this is where community comes into play. And that's where magic happens in a brand, where it's not just like you talking to your audience and your audience talking back to you, it's your audience talking to each other. Like if you're at a ball game, right, and your team's down and they hit a game-winning grand slam or something, like you're high-fiving and hugging people you don't even know
Right.
because you're all in support of the same thing. And that's where branding and sort of my entrepreneurial stuff comes into play. But I think you're so smart with this, and the guests that you have on is amazing. Plus, I have a lot of students who take my podcasting course, and they're like, I ask them like, "Why do you want to start a show?" And they're like, "I just want to connect with other people." And you can't help but build a relationship with somebody when you're talking to them for this long,
Hmm.
right? And we built a relationship off of Instagram, and it was really Rev's interview that introduced me to you, and then I kind of reached out to you, and then you also are doing a great job. I see it, I notice it from my perspective of getting into and just learning about other people. And when you learn about other people, you can see what you can do to help them. And when you help other people, like you're helping me right now, it's like I want to give back to you after this. And now like I can help you with your show and stuff with your audio and whatever. And I think it sounds great, by the way. But
Thank you.
um, and I reached out to Squeaks, and he's been super generous and like just offering him some help about some questions that he had about his audio and stuff. He's
Hmm.
like, dude, anytime you need any help about Pokemon stuff, like I'm there for you. And I'm like, dude, I literally didn't start collecting cards really until 6 months ago.
Hmm.
And now I feel like I'm deep in it. And it's only because of, like you said, the relationships, dude. And how many of us are often too scared to put ourselves out there, or we're hiding behind our keyboard or our Reddit username. It's like, you got to get out there and meet people.
Yeah, yeah, and my real true selfish intent with it is sharing other people's stories because for whatever reason, I just love the history of individuals. I've never liked history class, but I like the history of
Mhm.
individuals and how they got to certain places in their life. 'Cause there's so
I like
many
that.
similar comparisons that we can all make to each other and help each other out. Like, I mean, it's great that you're so open on your own personal podcast, even to just about the money aspect. I mean, people in the corporate world and the normal life, they don't like talking about money. They get very uncomfortable
Mhm.
about it, and I've never understood that. And that's another thing. I had recently just left my job during this pandemic. I not wasn't laid off, I guess, like you were, but I had this goal in mind to go get my MBA, go to do some more schooling, just like your dad was telling you to do, or you might have had in your head. And I discovered that Pokemon was going to be the thing to kind of sustain me and help me build and grow outside of working that normal 9 to 5, and then discovering and kind of rebuilding this podcast because I had started it earlier in the year, um,
Mhm.
before everything shut down, and I moved across the country. But yeah, just finding this was like the perfect outlet. So
Yeah.
um,
It's like with Rusty, your interview with Rusty. He's like said the same thing, right? Like he wanted to teach, and then he just started doing this and he had more fun. And his life has forever changed as a result of that. And I mean, he's just such a legend now. And I
mhm,
imagine that this show is going to continue to grow. And with your involvement, especially in the trophy cards and stuff, like that stuff is very newsworthy. And with Squeaks and your other show, it's just like, dude, you're setting you're putting in the work now so you can reap the benefits later, and that's so great. And you're doing that by helping people. And the fact that you're saying it's selfish is just a benefit. Like you, as a byproduct, get to hear these stories, but you're
mhm,
also helping people at the same time. It's so cool. So yeah, congrats on leaving the job. And getting laid off. Honestly, although it was the toughest time in my life, the best thing that could ever happen to me.
yeah,
Like it opened up my eyes so much. And if I didn't get laid off, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't have as much time with the kids. I wouldn't have as much money. I wouldn't be able to. I mean, I do a lot of philanthropic stuff. I'm on the advisory board of Pencils of Promise with Gary Vee, and we build
mhm,
schools all around the world to help people who don't get access to education like we do. it's a dream. It's a dream, and I'm so thankful that I have these opportunities.
So what was the big opportunity that kind of shifted your life? Was it the podcast, or was it purely financially too? Was it the
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
or was it the book you sold or the products you're selling?
It wasn't just one thing, there's sort of levels or little milestones, right? So I talked about the first one, which was selling that ebook back
Right.
in October of 2008, and that was a huge one. It really unlocked really my confidence more than anything, but it did help my bank account, and that was even more important because my wife had gotten pregnant, and me not knowing what I was doing, because I didn't have a job and she didn't have one either, we couldn't get health insurance.
Mm,
And so at the time, pregnancy was a pre-existing condition. And so we had to pay our way through pregnancy. And I'm talking like, every day in the hospital is like $8,000.
yeah.
And so my son was due January 15th of 2010. And I found this loophole. I was like, okay, I can have my wife be on payroll in my business. And if she's on payroll, pregnancy is no longer a pre existing condition. She will be able to get health insurance through my company. And this was going to save us tens of thousands of dollars, right? It only was going to go up January 1st,
Mhm.
2010, January 1st, like we were good. Her water broke December 23rd. So these feelings of joy that I was supposed to have with my son coming into this world was like, I was like, "Can you put the water back? Like, how does this work? Can you like hold up a minute?" Like 8 days, that's it. And so anyway, he was born, and thankfully, even though he was early, he wasn't in the NICU for very long or anything like that. We were still there for 3 days, and I had to pay $25,000 out of pocket. And I'm very grateful that this business helping people pass an architectural exam was able to help pay for that.
Wow.
And that was like, "Holy crap." Like there's even more reason now for me to go hard on this
Yeah.
because I got a family now, and let's go and let's do it. And so I just started to dedicate a lot more time to learning and educating myself. I think the next big milestone was this thing that I did where a friend of mine who was in the online space, he just kind of sent me an email. He's like, "Hey, I'd love to challenge you." And I was like, "Okay, I'm always up for a challenge. I'm super competitive." And he's like, "Well, I want to do it publicly because I think it'll hold us accountable." I'm like, "Ooh, even better." And he said, "I want to challenge you to build a website from scratch. You can pick any topic you want it to be about, but it has to be from scratch. And we're going to see who can make money from this website first." And this was back in the day when niche websites were very popular, where you could sort of like buy a domain that matched a keyword and all this stuff. So I did the research, and I was able to build a website about security guard training. Was I a security guard? No. In 73 days, I got it to number one in Google for the keyword security guard training, and was able to make a couple $100s a month through advertising on the website.
Mhm.
A year later, that website started to make $2,000 to $3,000 a month on the ads because it started to get picked up. I started to add and invest more time and money into it. I hired writers to put some time into it. You might be asking, well, how the heck did you build something when you're not even a security guard yourself? That's kind of like you're an imposter or something. Well, I played the role as if I was somebody looking for a career in security guard training. So I called every single state security guard company and just said, "Hey, if I'm going to be a security guard in your state, like, what's the process for becoming a security guard?" Because in my research, this was a highly valuable keyword. It was very, very high volume search. There wasn't a lot of good content. So I was like, okay, if I can fill in that gap, awesome. So I called every single state and I just kind of wrote down, okay, step one, go here. Step two, go here. In California, for example, you have to get your guard card or whatever. And there's a specific website there to go to get that. And I just put like helpful resources online. Google picked it up. People started to share it, started to make money. January 2020, I sold that business. And after 10 years of making $2,000 to $3,000 a month just on autopilot. And that gave me the idea that you just have to help others, right? Like find what people need help with, pick a niche market or something, and like give them that. And then you can have mechanisms on top of that, whether it's advertising or products or whatever, to do that. I did the same thing again in 2014. I built a website about how to start a food truck, foodtrucker.com. Recently sold that as well. The same exact month as securityguardtraininghq.com. Played the same exact role. I didn't pretend like I knew anything about food trucks. I actually started a podcast to interview food truck owners because in my research, I found that food truck owners spend 16 hours a day in their truck because they're slicing, dicing, prepping, and then they're serving, and then they're cleaning. And then they wake up and rinse and repeat. They don't have time to read a blog, but they definitely have time to listen to a podcast while they're prepping. So this podcast took off. We started getting advertisers for it. We ended up writing a book that was based on crowdsourcing information from these existing people who had food trucks. And I just played the role of curator. I played the role of expert curator. And then I recently sold books and other things there too. And recently sold that website too to clear more room for some stuff that we're doing this year. So the idea of just kind of understanding what works and then trying again and making incremental improvements every time is great. And then I discovered this world of affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing means you don't have to create the products yourself. You can promote other people or other companies' products. And if a person goes through your affiliate link on your website, on your channels or whatever, you will get a commission. So I ended up, discovering that there were a lot of people who were like buying ads. They were like, okay, I want to buy ads for people who look up the keyword how to start a website. And I just want to like show ads to them to go through my affiliate link. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, that's cool. But like if they go through that, I won't know who they are. I can't help them even further. Let's see. On Smart Passive Income, I'm going to offer a free how to start a website tutorial, A to Z, everything you need to know. I'm just going to give it all away. Step one, you got to get a good brand, have a good idea of what your niche is. Step two, logo, whatever. Step three, you got to get a website. Oh, by the way, since I'm teaching you here and you want some help, here's the hosting domain provider that I recommend. If you click on this link, I get $100 at no extra cost to you. After finishing this series, that link and the multiple times I've shared it elsewhere has generated over $400,000 in commissions over the last 6, 7 years.
Wow.
And it's just how I'm helping people for free. And I'm just saying, hey, here's a tool that can help you along the way. My favorite way to promote things like this are sharing the free way to do something and the headache free way to do something. For
Mm.
example, if you're interested in like some software to do something like, I don't know, keyword research or something, right? I could teach you how to do keyword research for free. So I might do a webinar and I might promote it as free webinar, learn how to do keyword research for free. And I literally show you that. It's not a bait and switch situation. For the first 30 minutes, I'm teaching you everything you need to know. You go to these keyword tools, you insert this into the spreadsheet. It takes 30 minutes, but at the end, you have this calculated thing that shows you these are the keywords you should be focusing on. Oh, by the way, in case you're interested in doing everything we just did in 30 minutes in 2 seconds, here's a tool that can do that for you. It costs money, but I use it because it saves me time.
Hmm.
Here's how it works. And people are like, that's an obvious choice. It's totally worth my money. And Pat, thank you for sharing. I'm going to go through your link. So I get a 50% commission from that. People are getting a keyword research tool that they need, and the keyword research company is getting a new customer. Everybody wins. And I absolutely love marketing that way. Um,
Wow.
Another big, there's so many milestones, dude. It's like
Well, that's
something unlocks a new thing.
yeah. That's why you see all those. I mean, I think every single how to do whatever on Google gives you those 10-step websites, right? And they're just riddled with
Yeah.
ads, riddled with links to whatever product they're talking about in each step. So that makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense. I need to work on that. I think with with all the products that I'm using now to help learn and build, I guess, my content because it is making my life a lot easier. I could definitely share that with the world because as small as I am, everybody has these stepping stones, and I'm getting asked by plenty of people that are wanting to start a YouTube channel or a podcast and asking me what I use.
Mhm.
So, um,
Oh yeah, for sure.
very interesting.
And then
Um,
there's online courses, the book I wrote. I mean, all these things kind of stack on each other, right?
yeah.
First time speaking on stage and getting paid $25,000 to speak on stage when a few years back,
Wow.
I would have never volunteered to speak on stage or I was deathly afraid of it. But knowing that it would help my business and my future and my family, I got training. I hired a coach. I like went to like storytelling camp. Like I invest in the things that I know are going to help me become a better version of myself.
Hmm.
I see where I want to go, and I know that there's a shortcut to get there. I mean, same thing happened when I decided that I wanted to run a triathlon. I found a person to help me train. I wasn't going to try and do this myself, and plus I might injure myself. Well, why not take the same approach when it comes to business or even the Pokemon stuff that I'm doing right now? I'm learning from all of you. I'm not going to waste time or money figuring things out when there are answers out there already or people who have resources that can help me.
Yeah, and you're making some pretty interesting choices. Some that I like, some that I want to question you on. But
Yeah, please
um,
do.
yeah. So as you mentioned, you just got into Pokemon 6 months ago. What brought you here?
Well, number one, my kids, they got into Pokemon. And anytime my kids get into something, I want to go deep and get in on it too, because
Mhm.
then we can do it together, right? I remember when I was a kid, I love my parents, my dad, my mom is amazing. But every time I got into something, they would just like kind of, chicken on me and then be like, okay, cool. And they just let me stay doing it versus like, oh, come play this with me. Right. Like if I remember getting like Pokemon Blue back in the Game Boy days and like being on it for hours. So I knew about Pokemon. I was familiar with Pokemon, but I
Mhm.
just never collected the cards. I was actually an MTG player,
Oh,
entered tournaments, all that kind of stuff, Magic the Gathering. Before that, I was like hugely into Pogs,
yep.
legit Pogs, not play a game like we see in the chats, but like legit like bottle cap milk bottle caps from Hawaii.
Oh.
And I had thousands of those. And then I got into the slammers and then at our local card shop, they were like Pog tournaments and dude, coffin cases full of these things.
Mhm.
And I ended up selling them. My magic stuff when I went to college, I wanted some extra cash, so I sold them. Terrible idea, not
What
just
was in
because they're
there?
worth stuff now. A lot of unlimited stuff,
Mm,
a couple beta things, nothing huge like a Lotus or any of those things.
okay.
But I had a deck that was like crafted over years. It was a land destruction deck, and essentially nobody could ever get anything out because I would kill their land. And it would just be the most frustrating thing. It was the funnest thing to do, man. Unless you
Okay.
had 1/1 dingers, you would not kill me. And I sold that deck. I had some sinkholes in it and stuff. Those were very expensive cards, and I kind of regret that because that was a part of my childhood. That's a part of like where I came from.
Mhm.
Uh, Pokemon is interesting in my history because in the late 1990s, I worked at Toys R Us. So I was in high school, summer job. I worked at Toys R Us, and this was 1999, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
We all know where that timeline is in the timeline of Pokemon. Every Saturday, I had to come in at 7 a.m., set up all these tables. Like we cleared out the front area of Toys R Us. We set up all these tables because at 9 a.m., hordes of children would come in with their packs of Pokemon cards wrapped in rubber bands with their greasy hands on them because they just had waffles for breakfast. And they would throw down these first edition cards. Like I remember seeing these cards, all the cards that are in PSA slabs now, they were just handling like it was nothing, but they were having a blast. And my job there was to just make sure nobody stole anything from each other and people were fair and whatnot. And just like it never clicked for me. I was like, because I was into Magic, I'm like, oh, this kid's game Pokemon. Like that's
Mhm.
so kid. That's such a kid game. Like you should check out Magic and Sarah Angels and Royal Assassins and stuff. And I'm just like, Pikachu, really? Dude, if I had access as a employee to packs and boxes. If only we knew, of course.
I can
But
imagine.
yeah, but that's kind of what I remember about it. So I always was like, oh, this is kid game. And now that I have kids and I want to play with them, it is a kid game.
Mhm.
But now it's bringing back all these memories of Magic. But now I can play with the kids, and now I'm teaching them. I'm using Pokemon as a vehicle to teach them about investing.
Mhm.
Right? It's amazing. I've used Fortnite to teach the kids about being a good loser
That's tough.
because
Good luck with that.
Fortnite yeah, Fortnite is a hard game. It
Yeah.
like battle royale, one winner at the end. My son must have played 400 games and lost, and he
Mhm.
got so frustrated. And I just was using that opportunity to help him learn how to get better, to help him learn how to become a happy loser, if you will, not a happy loser, but somebody who wasn't so butthurt about it.
Mhm.
And then it made that first win even more special. And I was there because we were training together, and I still play Fortnite every once in a while. And we play together now. And he's 11, so he's pretty good now on the ASWD
Okay.
keyboard. But uh, Pokemon, yeah, I'm just getting really excited. So as I was researching, I found all you guys, PokeRev, and then all of a sudden I see PokeRev on Gary V, who's I'm a fan of Gary V, and I'm friends with him, and I'm featured in his book, Crushed It, and like to see Rev there at opening cards, and then the whole Paul Logan thing. I'm not gonna lie, that did stir up some excitement for me, and
Yeah.
I know it did for a lot of people. And he's moved on, although he might come back, and who knows? But um, I'm in it, and when I go into something, I go deep, right? I go deep, and now that I have a lot of indispensable income, like where I can just, thanks to the business I have and a lot of smart moves I've made in the investment world, like I have the ability to play around and to invest and to hold on to things and maybe take some of that investment money that I've earned and put it into a different kind of asset
Mhm.
whilst having fun with it too and getting to know some awesome people.
Yeah, I mean, I can see right behind you some very beautiful items. I don't know if those are the real Nike
They're not the real ones.
Okay.
The mags.
Yeah, the
No,
mags.
I'm a huge Back to the Future fan, by
Mhm.
the way. And in 2015, I did a keynote at an event called New Media Expo, and this was the 30-year anniversary of Back to the Future. So I got to craft a talk however I wanted to, and I made it Back to the Future theme. I actually came out on stage in a DeLorean, and I came out wearing these eBay fake mags. They do light up though.
Okay.
And I was holding this hoverboard and I had the Marty McFly jacket on. And then I told a keynote about how companies can remain future proof. So it was tied into the theme. But yeah, those aren't the real ones. But these are real cool Star Wars helmets,
Yeah.
Iron Man helmet, Mandalorian stuff. I like collecting things up here. I don't think you can see them, but there's some black boxes up there. I just invested in so I'm a big investor in Tesla. I own a Tesla. I absolutely love the company and a
Oh.
fan of Elon Musk and how he thinks nothing is impossible.
Mhm.
And he came out with Tesla tequila lately.
Yep.
Uh, he just is such a cool memer like that. He came out with short shorts as well.
Oh,
And
really?
I bought two bottles of Tesla tequila. They were $250 each. I don't drink that kind of stuff. Um, but they're collectibles and it's a
Yeah.
company I want to support and it's a cool story. It's a part of history. And that's where I think we are with Pokemon too. To me, it is a part of history, and there's so much cool stories and lore and background, and that's what I get from you and the guests that you have, and Rusty and SM Pratt's a fun channel for me to watch because I'm just like I have no idea what this guy's talking about, but I'm so interested in it. And then I spend 4 hours doing research on trophy cards because of all that stuff. So anyway,
Yeah.
um, thank you. Yeah, I'm just having fun, man. I'm a big kid. I think a lot of us are big kids
Mhm.
now, and we now have money that we didn't have, and we choose to spend it here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've definitely seen. Yeah, I've seen the Tesla tequila. Many influencers stories lately. I know the flamethrower blew up. The Boring Company flamethrower, and
Mhm,
so just
mhm.
about anything that guy releases is a collectible. I've hit him up multiple times saying you've got to release a scent called Elon's Musk, and it hasn't come yet. I'm sure he's
Big,
saving that
right?
one for a while because I
What would
mean,
that smell like?
oh, it would smell like a
Money?
just I can't. I mean, it was just a little bit of everything.
$190 billion.
190 billion. That's amazing. So you must be doing really well then if you've been investing in Tesla for a while now at least. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the fanboy investors,
yeah.
like I'm not letting go for 10 years. And, I am scraping a little bit so I could put it into Pokemon, but
Hmm.
I did get in early and I'm very grateful for that. And, um, it's kind of wild right now. It's very wild for sure.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I'm following the news every day.
yeah. Tied in with the, I like to think Tesla is kind of young money because it's a lot of younger people that were bullish on Tesla. You got Bitcoin, young money there as
Mhm.
well, and then this transfer of wealth from the boomer age, the baby boomer age of like $63 trillion. There's so much money flowing into these and what 30 to 50-year-old people right now that just want to buy Pokemon, want to buy their childhood again. So it's really interesting to see what's happened, and it's honestly a lot of it's made sense, more so than what hasn't made sense. But
Yeah.
so since you're taking out a little bit, are you being very calculated with what you're doing with Pokemon? Is there a set number, a set percentage that you are investing or collecting with? Because I mean, with a name like Deep Pocket Monsters, I mean, one has to think you're putting a lot of money into this. What is that looking like for you? What's your plan there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm exploring for sure, and I know I've made some pretty good purchases and investments, and I know that maybe I've invested in things incorrectly. I'll share an example of that in a moment. But deep pocket monster is sort of double meaning, right? Deep pocket, yes, I am spending some money here, and I want to share these things, and eventually when the channel gets a little bigger, I'm going to be giving a lot back, and then eventually the pocket monster. That's what Pokemon means, right?
Hmm.
So, I'm going deep into that. And when you watch some of my videos, you'll notice that it's not just like pack openings and stuff. And I think that's great and super fun. But I'll take a card, I'll acquire it, and then I just for even my own purposes, I just want to kind of like document everything I can learn about it into one nice looking video for myself and for others. Part of me also is documenting sort of my collection as it grows for my kids, right?
Hmm.
Like when this stuff gets, if I still have it, bequeathed, like where did this card come from? Oh, I'll go watch daddy's video and see that, okay, well, this was actually from a Phantom Forces sort of booster box. And it's, a Dialga EX, 122 out of 119. secret rare that is one of the only silver cards, and it was super hard to grade because it was silver all the way up and down. And so like they'll know that, or whoever else wants to learn about that. And
Mhm.
maybe the person who invests in my card when I sell it might love to know the history about it too. I think story always makes things more valuable. So in a way, I'm making my collection more valuable by telling stories about it. I think. I don't know if that's true, but a lot of things, we love to know the history behind it, like you said. And not every card has a story, and
Mhm.
but many of them will and do.
Yeah, that I mean, first of all, that the Algo purchase is probably my favorite purchase you've made so far, at least from what I've seen. I think that was a very well thought out purchase. And what you said about creating a story with the cards is something that a lot of us collectors have talked about for years. Of certain cards that we had either from our childhood or even now where we got them from
Mhm.
create such a large sentimental value. So the fact that that's my favorite part of your videos, by the way, that I don't think a lot of people see right offhand is you're telling the story of how you acquired the card, who you acquired the card from, why you acquired it, tying in all the different, like the Dialga. You showed Rev opening one in his box break, and you bought that card, I believe, from Australia, was it?
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, I really love that because
Thank you.
I mean, it'll probably make it tougher for you in the future to sell since you're doing that to yourself. But I think that's a really
Oh,
great.
personally, you mean? Because I'm emotionally
Yeah,
connected to it, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember you and Squeaks talking about that. That's gonna be a tough one for sure, although I am learning, and a video I have coming out very shortly here speaks to something that I learned in entrepreneurship, and that's the idea that the riches are in the niches.
Hmm.
And I know it's pronounced niches, but that doesn't rhyme as well. Um, and so in entrepreneurship, a way to become successful faster is to niche down, right? To narrow your focus on what it is that you're doing, who it is that you're serving. It matters all the way through, from your designing efforts to the language that you speak when you're talking about a product to where you go to find customers. Everything is so much easier when you are a little bit more narrow.
Hmm.
And it might sound counterintuitive because, you want to serve everybody. If you're going to be selling shoes, yeah, I want to sell all shoes because I want to sell shoes to the entire world. But if you're going to try to serve everybody, you're going to serve nobody, right? So you might as well pick a focus, and it makes everything easier all the way down to the manufacturing line, right? Like if I'm going to do shoes, to stay with the example, I'm just going to pick running shoes, right? And I'm going to like learn everything I can about running. I know to go to races to go and advertise. I know I can connect with certain distributors who are focused specifically on those shoes. I can imagine what that store is going to look like versus like a Payless shoe store, or a shoe pavilion that has all the shoes, right? When you walk into that store, you're going to get running advice.
Hmm.
And so in the collecting space, I think it's the same thing. And I've made very specific selections on, okay, this is what I want to collect. These are the kinds of things I like. And yeah, there's all this other cool stuff. But if I were to divide my energy and my time and money to everything, I'm not going to have a full focus collection, or nothing is going to ever be complete. And then once I complete something, I can then move on to the next. So whether it's an individual card like the Yalga, which I just think is super cool, and plus I think it's a great investment with a PSA 10 pop of 47,
Hmm.
um, or right now I'm collecting, and maybe this is what you wanted to comment on, and as far as what you didn't agree with, but the PSA 10 graded sealed packs from WotC.
Yep.
I just have this idea in my head that that's what I want, and that's what I want to collect. And there are reasons, as more and more people are opening these packs, and I'd love a counter argument to this. I feel like every time somebody opens one of these vintage packs, which are not getting printed anymore, like my sealed stuff is going to get a little bit more valuable every single time. Plus the fact that it's authenticated, which means it's not resealed, and PSA's had their hands on it and whatever. Um, to go from base set first edition all the way through to Skyridge and have variations, long crimp and all that stuff. Like
Hmm.
I think it'd be super cool, and it's something that I'm interested in. So when I see an opportunity, I can calculate and choose whether or not that's a smart decision. I don't have to go, oh, and there's also this first edition base set Venusaur that seems to be a good deal. Yeah, it's a good deal, but that's not my focus. So I know I can have more money reserved for the collections that I want to have. And I collect a few other things too, a lot of promotional cards with Pikachu on them and stuff. But
Okay.
I also am one box away from finishing my XY booster set. Um, and I'm just learning. I'm getting a feel, because there's no way for me to go into this brand new and go, yeah, this is exactly what I want. I didn't know, and I'm sort of learning along the way, and I'm learning from people like you, and I made mistakes. The big mistake I made was all throughout the hype in November, I wanted my hands on a Charizard
Mm-hmm.
from base set, just like everybody else. And so I bought an unlimited one
Mm-hmm.
from eBay for $1,700. And that's absolutely gone down in price right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even in great condition. It actually went to PSA, it came back a PSA 7.
Oof.
So completely lost money there. And that's a lesson learned.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an absolute example of impulse buying and just going with the hype. And that was, I'm glad that happened because that was money well spent. Truly. It's a reminder. I have this card as a reminder to think a little bit harder before I make a decision. And it's funny because I have those same things in my life when I make, purchase decisions. I don't just snap make those decisions. I have filters in place. But here I was with all the hype and everything, just kind of getting lost in it and purchasing emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at least that's a card you'll probably hold on now to for a very long time until it goes back up to that value or higher. So that's a
Right.
nice thing. That's one thing that I really talk about a lot in my podcast with people is setting goals, because I have struggled and still struggle to this day with that deeply. I mean, I've really been into Pokemon mostly for the investment side of things. But when it all started, it was purely a collection goal, and I just constantly went back and forth between what I wanted, and I got caught up in
Mm,
just wanting everything, and I never finished any goal. And I finally just kind of dwindled down my expectations of what I wanted to a simple binder and a few other pieces here and there, which I'm very happy to have. Um, but of course, now being doing this as a business full time, I'm not really able to collect. I need to have the money constantly growing and flowing. So, yeah,
right.
setting goals, especially for collections, but also for investment purposes, is so important. And staying focused on that and not taking in all the distractions coming in, because with how big Pokemon is now, it's Logan Paul, Gary V, all these people coming in. There's so many different mindsets and
Mhm.
viewpoints on what to buy and what to collect, and you really need to focus on what you want.
It's
And
hard, dude. I watched you and a few others, I think Rev, with Aoki
hmm
and his gold star collection.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, dude, that's what I want to collect now. Cause look at these guys. They're talking about it. It's super cool. And like, I was just like, no, 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 stop, Pat. Like, appreciate the fact that Steve has a full set and it's beautiful. What's your version of that? And I'm like, okay, like that stopped me from making probably a few purchases that I probably didn't need to make. Um, and I remember you and Squeaks talking about like, I think you had mentioned like, yeah, well, if the card goes down in value, you'll still be happy, right? And it's like
hmm
that conversation. And actually took back what you said, and no, you would be actually upset if that happened in many cases. And just the emotion of it is really hard. The same thing is really important in stock market investing, right? Like
hmm
I heard recently that the most successful, highest performing portfolios were actually from people who died, because people who died who didn't, their accounts didn't do anything. They were just sitting there. I mean, it's very sad that they died,
hmm
obviously, but they weren't making, well, dead emotional decisions to sell when going low and buy when it's high.
right.
The best performing ones where nothing was done. And it just shows you how screwed up we can be sometimes with decision making because we're human.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been a millionaire today if I had not decided to sell my sealed product, move it into to paying off my debts and doing the traditionally safe and sound thing in life.
Mhm.
And then also changing again my focus from sealed product to trophy cards, which have been very, very lucrative and good for me. But yeah, if I had just given up, sat back with what I had and waited until today, my net worth would be over $1 million. I've looked at it. I've looked at my spreadsheets, and
Ugh,
it, I mean, again, it's still,
hindsight.
yeah, hindsight, we can never, see that, but it's, at least it's created some value where I've been able to expand my knowledge into this world of trophy cards, and and now obviously podcasting, because I wouldn't be doing the podcast if I had done that either. I would probably just be sitting back at my 9 to 5 with a bunch of money in the bank account after selling Pokemon
Mhm.
slowly instead of quickly, and who knows? So every step that you take is has meaning, and I'm happy with all the decisions I've made so far. I mean, yeah, one little saying that you had said about the focusing on or niching down. I like to live by move faster alone, but further together. So, I was doing really well early on with this podcast, knocking out shows, just having a great time with it. And I quickly realized that I wanted to expand that and bring on Squeaks, who I've loved having on, creating that new podcast with him, and it's been a blast. So, yeah, just working together is a lot of fun. Um, so, looking at your Pokemon purchases now, those packs, I was very intrigued by. It's a very to me, uh, again, another like a niche purchase.
Mhm.
Those for those that are new to collecting, PSA has these cases for their packs that, in many collectors' opinions, destroy the packs because they fold them. They were built for wax
Cards.
packs, for sports wax packs, right?
Right.
And they didn't fit the shape of a Pokemon pack. So although they were still grading nines, tens, eights, there was just this weird question of how can you give a pack a 10 if you're folding it and can't even see the whole artwork?
Good
Um,
question. Good
so
question. Although they do have new slabs now. Did you see they have new
they
slabs for
they
packs?
they do. So I was gonna ask you first, were you aware that new slabs were gonna be made before you made that purchase?
I did not.
Okay.
No,
How do
I
you
did
f-
not. Just
how,
saw
how do you feel now knowing that there are new slabs coming out for packs?
on one hand, I could be upset that I didn't do enough deep research to kind of see if anything like that would happen. I just figured it had been like that for so long. Why in this very moment would they make this change? I don't know.
Hmm.
I could be upset because I have first edition Team Rocket, first edition Fossil. I have some, all this stuff already that has the crimp bent a little bit, or a lot of it, to be honest. It's actually quite horrible
Yeah.
when you think about it. But it also gets me excited because in my spreadsheet that I have, I've only collected 21% of my goal.
Mhm.
And so the 100 plus additional packs that I have, I now know that I can actually get them without having to go through eBay and somebody I might not know, and without fully seeing the slab first, because sometimes they might come back cracked or scratched or whatever. Now I know for the rest of them, I can move forward and perhaps buy packs right out of a box from somebody reputable, perhaps, and send them in myself
Mhm.
and know they're going to be in a new slab. And likely I'll be one of the first to have that many in the new slabs because that's my niche focus. And part of the reason why I chose this as a focus is because it's a little bit less expensive than collecting a full set of sealed booster boxes. Number one, uh, number two, it's just different, and I like to do things different. And if that's sort of what I become known for, oh yeah, Pat, like, oh, he's the dude who collected all the PSA 10 foil packs, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Now there's something that I can be known for, right? Just like you're known for the trophy cards, right? That's part of the byproduct of being in the niches is you become known in that space. And I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And not that you have to stay in that space forever, but you can use the credentials that you've earned and the relationships that you've built with that little niche to expand into other spaces. And again, to go back to what we mentioned earlier, the power of relationships, if like it's so key. So yeah, it's a little when I saw it, I was like, oh, I want that. And
Yeah.
then I started just looking on eBay. There was one person selling slabs from base set Spanish edition unlimited
Hmm.
with the new slabs. And they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous. They're the way they should have been. But it makes me wonder, can I re-slab them? Will there be this giant crease in the middle? Probably.
Hmm.
Or could they potentially be, maybe they go up in value because it's old slab, just like, some of the older stuff seems to retain more value. So, there's a story there. And the fact that, hey, these were before, or even these three that I purchased from TCA Gaming were specifically a week before new slabs came out. I don't know. It's kind of funny to talk about.
It's a
Um,
new variant of a sealed pack, I guess now. That's something that if you're obsessive over this pack, you're gonna have to collect one of each of the old and the new
yeah, I need
style.
2x now. Yeah, geez, that's
um,
so funny.
yeah, of course I don't think it's gonna save the long crimp packs, so I'm not sure how they'll.
Thankfully, I only have one of those in jungle. The jungle long
Okay.
crimp is the only one I have right now. I have some long crimp gym heroes and some long crimp fossil at PSA right now,
Hmm.
and I'm imagining that they're going to come back in the new slabs, which would be really great.
Yeah.
The cool thing about the long crimps is there's only one set of PSA 10 long crimp fossil, um, and it's they're all unlimited,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna have the only other set, by the time I get them back. Um, in Skyridge, there's only no, there's no long crimp for Skyridge. There's a couple other sets where there's like pop two for those,
Gym
and that's
challenge is
that's
very hard to find,
yeah.
and I've had every single sealed case of long crimp packs other than Gym Challenge. I've never found
Mhm.
one for whatever reason. I
Like
heard
in a
of
blister or
it. So those would come in 72 pack cases.
okay.
You're talking about the long, like the hanger packs, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those would come in 72 pack distributor cases, just a cardboard box, 72 packs in them. And
Mhm.
I've owned multiples of each except Gym Challenge, and for whatever reason, no one can really find one. So that's still something that I hope to own someday and move on. I mean, that's kind of how I work now. I enjoy being able to own something for however long I can before it moves on. So that's kind of how I collect. I guess I collect the experience. Um, are those packs actually specified on the PSA label as long crimp versus short
They
crimp?
are.
Okay.
They are. And I've just had so much fun with this collection. This is again going to the niche. Like I have a spreadsheet now that tells me, probably just saw my face light up because there's a lot of white from this Excel file now, but it like I marked every single one that I need and all the ones that I have,
Hmm.
PSA number for each, how much I paid for them, whether they're graded or not, and I have a link to the pop report for each of them. And there's only one set of fossil longs. There's only for base set 2, there's only 1 Pidgeot, 2 Mewtwo's, 2 Gyarados, and 2 Raichus in the long crimp. For Team Rocket, there's 2 of each. For Gym Heroes, there's like 3 or 4 or 5. No, 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 the long crimp, there's 0 Brock, 0 Lieutenant Surge,
Hmm.
1 Erica, 1 Misty at a PSA 10. So it's like,
Yeah, Gym
there's
Heroes is
like
hard too.
in total, there are only 3,358 total PSA 10 WotC sealed foil packs
Hmm.
at PSA 10. And I have 0.74% of that entire population right now.
That's always fun to look at. Um, yeah, the I remember I had a sealed Gym Heroes. I think it was the first one ever on the market. I got a crazy premium for it at the time. I mean, now it's worth even more than what I sold it for, obviously. But
Mm.
um, yeah, I remember back in 2017 when I was real tiny on Instagram. There was a buddy of mine. I don't think he's involved in Pokemon anymore, but his first goal was to get a PSA 10 set of every pack. He wasn't doing every variation, but he was doing every pack, first edition, unlimited from base through Skyridge, and he was the first one to complete it.
That's cool.
And right off the bat, he decided to sell it, and I don't think he got anywhere near what he was expecting to. Um, again, this was 2017, so for that entire set, it was like 12 grand or something.
Mhm.
When now one of the base set packs or two of the first edition base set packs will go for that much. Um, so yeah, I just remember that there's always kind of been this negative stigma around graded PSA packs because of the case. And also there have been instances of first edition base set packs that were resealed and graded by PSA. So I love that you're kind of shifting
Mhm.
over to buying from sealed boxes so you know exactly where they came from, the exact source,
Right, right.
and then getting them graded. I think that's great. And also, you'll have that story behind it too of these 3 EX Deoxys packs came from Rev's Break or or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So
I
that's
remember I purchased with Rev. He was opening base set 2, and I purchased 4, and this was like live on his stream.
hmm
And this was after I've decided I wanted all the PSA 10 foils, and he brought them all out on the stream, and I was like, great. And then opened them, and I'm like, no, I could have used those sealed. But you know,
yeah,
I knew he was going to open them, but I was like, oh, I could just probably tell him to keep them sealed, but he wasn't going to because that's
yeah,
what he does. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, I'll
but yeah,
actually
like,
be doing some openings here in 2021 soon, and be
oh, sweet,
selling sealed packs. So keep an eye out for that. I've got some interesting boxes like
cool,
Unlimited Neo Destiny, base set 2, base set, some Unlimited Gym series as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for
nice.
that. If there's any of those you need, we'll be sure to get you a an art set. Um,
Well, I trust you.
yeah.
Thank you. You don't have guru in your name, so that's a plus.
Gosh, there's I'm glad that came and left very quick. Um, yeah, so I mean, you've been a part of the very positive, I guess, side of Pokemon so far. Have you been involved at all with the E4 forum, or um,
I
where?
went in there.
Yeah,
I heard S and Pratt talking about it, and I was like, E4. Okay, let me click over, and there's just a wealth of information. And there's also I found a few pockets of like Reddit type conversations
yeah,
where people are very not so positive with each other sometimes. And
hmm
I didn't go deep into it. I have heard some things about it, but from what I saw, I was just looking up people's collections and a lot of people adding value and a lot of people helping each other find missing cards and stuff. And that was cool. Like anywhere where that's happening is there's always a good community. But I haven't posted anything. I'm a little bit timid
yeah.
when it comes to this space, and I much rather sort of get involved with ways that I know how to get involved best, which is like communication through the YouTube world, Instagram, and whatnot, and building relationships that way. But should I be on E4? Should I be posting? Should I be up in there?
It's whatever you're comfortable with. I think when I first got in, there was a lot less of the I guess useless information that you had to sift through. So when I first hopped in, it was just banger after banger of incredible information, and it was uh, really nice to pick all that up. But now, yeah, most of us are on YouTube now or Instagram sharing all the knowledge. So I think those are kind of the best
Yeah,
places to take in the information quickest and easiest. But it's always nice to go back to some old threads. I mean, even if you search something very specific on Google, you might get linked to one of the threads there. So it'll live on for a while, and it's always a nice place to check for very random, nuanced, uh, uh, I guess, question you might have about Pokemon.
yeah.
Um,
It was interesting the way you set that question up because you had mentioned, well, you've experienced the positive side of Pokemon.
yeah,
Have you ever checked out E4? And I'm like, can you help enlighten me a little bit on like if I were to go in there, for example, is it potentially a dog eat dog position in there?
it can be a timing issue. I mean, diving into a forum like that was built by and for collectors, if you want to do it properly and get a healthy response out of it, you need to read and follow all the rules that are posted in there. A lot of people will hop into forums and not follow guidelines and rules and just
Sure.
get chewed up real quick by somebody that was having a bad day. Because a lot of people go in there asking the same question of, what should I spend $50 on? What should I invest in? These crystal ball questions that nobody can answer.
Mhm.
And depending, yeah, like I said, depending on who's having a good day or a bad day, it can get kind of rough in there. Um, but overall, it's a great experience, especially once you get more engaged and get to know, I guess, the more active users who have been there for a long time, and that's where I built my relationships out of, was E4. That's where a lot of us did. So it's a great place. You just have to learn how to navigate it properly and follow the
Yeah.
rules.
Cool. And,
Yeah,
and I think you were involved in like a Discord a while back that was really popular and helpful as you were building your collection.
yeah, yeah.
And then like some stuff happened in there or something.
Well,
I
no,
think I
yeah.
remember
The
hearing.
the so we did create an E4 Discord off of E4, and that's
Ah,
still
okay.
alive and well. And we actually do our PWCC nights through there I'll typically stream on Twitch, going through as much as I can because those auctions end so fast. But we'll hop in there for voice. Everyone will talk for a little bit, a little bit. SM Pratt hops in there every now and then. We'll play Among Us. We'll play some random games occasionally. So it's a great place to just kind of hang out and either talk Pokemon or talk life sometimes. Um,
That's cool.
and I've also branched off and created or joined, I guess, Squeak's Discord. Squeaks has his own Discord as well, so I kind of joined that one as well. It's another great place to join and pick up some great information. And then, yeah, there was a there was a trophy specific Discord that some guys created, and it was just a really it was very gatekeeping esque type place, and
Oh,
it was just people sharing information on what we found about trophy cards. So it was really a wealth of knowledge. But as I got into the scene of flipping trophy cards, I didn't feel very welcomed. So I was kind of left out of the conversation. And
gotcha.
there's that battle of collector purists and flippers and what's in the middle. So um,
Mhm.
it's very hard sometimes to balance that out. And I just felt it was best to stay out of it at that point. Um, because we all appreciate different things. Like I've said, I appreciate just owning these pieces of history for a speck of time. I think it's, if I was wealthy and could afford to hold on to these things long term, I think they're some of the greatest long term investments, and they're some of their history. Again, I'm a history just like kind of geek, I guess, within this Pokemon world.
Yeah.
So the way that I can handle it and get a taste of it is by buying and selling them and making them available to others, because it is a difficult and risky process buying them the way that we do. Um,
Yeah.
so you mentioned you were a collector of I guess Magic and Pogs to start. Was there anything else before that was your dad a collector at heart? Or do you have any brothers or sisters that collect that kind of?
Um, I'm an only child, so there were no brothers and sisters, but my grandfather, who's no longer with us, had this amazing coin collection.
Mm,
Amazing coin collection. And it was amazing to me at, 5 and 6. It would probably be even more amazing to me now that I know about collecting and such. And I'm talking, 2.5 gold pieces to 1652, shillings from England, like that kind of stuff. And my dad has it now, but he's never gone in there. And I ask him about it every once in a while, just because I'm curious. I'd love to have it appraised and looked at and checked out, and even get those things graded now that I know what that means and what that can do for value and authenticity and such. But, I might one day get my hands on those, and I'd love to sort of explore sort of coins and such, and there's a lot of paper money, as well, from all parts of the world. It's just like you, it's just there's like, where were those coins? What were they being used for? And,
mhm.
like, what was happening in that era? It's just so interesting to me. And now we're doing the same thing, but with, like, pieces of cardboard with cartoons on them. Uh, it's still value because it's worth something to somebody. And I was also for a while a big collector of, there were these Tamiya cars that our card shop sort of converted into, that the whole side of our card shop converted into hosting these races.
Mhm.
And these were Tamiya cars that you actually like had to buy and put together, and they'd come with a little engine, and then you'd also like buy upgrades and foam wheels instead of the heavier rubber ones. And there was also like these wheels on the bumpers that would hold it against the track. And we would just come in every day after school. And I must have had like 20 or 30 of those. And I was always trying to soup up my car. I was like sanding the plastic off the car to make it just that much more lighter, because I was trying to shave thousandths of a second off my score.
Mhm.
And like we would win prizes and stuff, and we go to tournaments and stuff, and it was really cool. And that felt really neat. And I thought that was going to lead me to become like a car dude, where a lot of my friends were super into cars and souping up their Acuras and their Honda Accords and stuff when they were in high school. And I just never, I had a Toyota Tacoma, and that was good enough for me. I just never found appeal with upgrading my car when I don't spend most of my time in it.
Mhm.
um, Most of my money in high school was actually spent on music related things. I was in the marching band, all throughout high school and even in college. And in fact, I stayed an extra semester my 5th year of college, just taking one class so I can be in the marching band one more year. And it was so much fun. That's where I really learned a lot of about who I am and the kind of person I want to be was in marching band at Cal. And Cal was interesting because it was a all student run band,
Hmm.
student run all the way through. And I got to eventually become the student director of the band my 5th year. And that allowed me to meet so many amazing people. I got to shake hands with Aaron Rodgers. I was at Cal when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback and Marshawn Lynch was the running back. Like it was an epic year. And we were supposed to go to the Rose Bowl, but Texas took it from us, and it was just so dramatic. And then Aaron Rodgers left, as we all know. So, and then he's just mega star now. But
Destroying my
it was the March.
Lions for years, and
Oh, yeah.
all I can think about
You're
when,
Michigan, right?
yeah, I'm in Michigan, Detroit native. So, and all I can picture Marshawn Lynch driving around that that cart
I
on the
was
field.
in the stands in the marching band
No
playing a
way.
song when that was happening.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, that's
it was,
awesome.
dude.
That
It was so fun.
that's one of the most
Um,
iconic sports clips of all time. I mean, we talk about Vince
it's just,
Carter's dunks, Michael Jordan's dunks, but Marshawn Lynch driving that thing around, just whipping it around. Oh my gosh,
oh man,
that's a great clip. I love that.
that was so funny. Yeah, and being in the marching band gave me access to my first job as an architect because it was actually through just a fancy dinner that we got invited to from a Cal alum.
Hmm.
And because I was student director, I got invited. And he was going around, he was asking everybody, like, hey, what are you studying? What are you majoring in? What do you want to be? And it came my turn, and he said, well, what are you majoring in? I said architecture. I really like hospitality, architecture, like restaurants and hotels and stuff. And he's like, oh, well, actually, a Cal grad designed this restaurant. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, John McNulty from MBH Architects. I'll put him in contact with you. And I was like, cool. And I was like, people say that all the time to be nice and stuff.
Hmm.
I literally get a call the next day from John McNulty. And he goes, hey, Pat Flynn, right? My buddy Pete tells me you want to be an architect and focus on restaurants. Like, why don't you come in and we'll chat later this weekend? And I was like, holy crap. Like, if I didn't stay, and the reason why really I stayed the 5th year in the band was to become student director because I
Hmm.
lost by one vote the year before. If I hadn't like knew that that was my dream and like bended the rules a little bit to come back one more year, I wouldn't have gotten my architecture job that I then would have been laid off from. That would have then put me into entrepreneurship, and then all this stuff after. Right? It's just like
Well,
life's crazy like that.
now you're an architect of podcasts. Um,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
yeah, no, it's funny. I didn't do too much research on you when I started. I always like to, at least with my guests, is do a little bit of research, and that kind of falls right into one of your tips with podcasts and watching some of those videos. I was like, oh, I already do a lot of these things. This is great. I must be doing something right. Um, so
You are.
yeah, no, it's really great that you're able to you're able to share that information with the world, and I'm really trying to figure out my path for I guess monetization of this. Like that's my next big thing. I mean, I think I've got the personality under control. I've got the idea and flow of conversation under control, and the equipment kind of will slowly upgrade as time goes and whatnot. But the monetization factor is the most interesting thing to me with the podcast. I'm so I guess this is all new to me, content creation, and to the outside world, the most basic way of income, I guess, is ad revenue, right?
Mhm.
And then you dive in deeper, you learn about all the affiliated marketing, whether it's products or like I do use my own. I have an affiliate eBay link for my store that people go
Yeah,
to,
that's a start.
and yeah, so building that and automating that, but now you got me into not just YouTube and Spotify, but I think the biggest piece of information that you've given me so far was get your podcast on Apple. And as soon as I did that, things have actually gone up to 300% since I've gotten my
Nice, man.
podcast on Apple. So
Good for you.
thank you. And I do go through Podbean for mine, and I know you mentioned that you go through a different source, but through Podbean,
Doesn't matter.
there's different ways that they offer for ads and sponsorships and stuff like that. So that's my next big step is learning how to monetize those podcasts.
Yeah.
What kind of advice or steps do you think I need to take next to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, there are 4 different ways to monetize a podcast that are, sort of relatively easy to do once you focus on them. And you had mentioned sponsorship and advertising, and that essentially means just you connect with a company who wants to get in front of your audience, and they pay you for a little bit of airtime. Whether it's a 60-second pre-roll, which is before the show, you might talk about them, or a mid-roll ad, which is in the middle, or a post-roll. Typically in the industry, I'm going to get a little numbers here. You can make anywhere between $15 to $50 CPM. That's cost per thousand downloads or views. Now you're fortunate because you're being distributed on many and multiple places, including YouTube, which allows for more numbers to grow. However, you can make any deal you want with anybody. If
Hmm.
there's a company who you really enjoy, who you know would be a good fit for your audience, and your audience, they can feel that there's value there in that. You can come up with a number and work out a deal. Maybe you give them a little bit of a deal for sticking around longer or what have you. But I think that there's actually better opportunities, especially for your brand. Like if I were you, let me just get into your shoes right now. If I were you, I would focus on building a private podcast that goes deeper and more specific to things that your audience wants to know, especially related to these things that are through the interviews. Okay, let's talk more about this privately here, but you got to pay to get access to that,
Hmm.
right? And it's not like you're taking anything away from anything anybody already has access to, but it's similar to what Essen Pratt does on YouTube, right? He has a Patreon, and a Patreon is a great way to do this too, to create a little private ability for you to get a little bit of funding from people to get access to something. And you can have like the lower level and then the higher level, which offers maybe you even offer, for $100 a month, we can get on a, you know, 30-minute call together, right? Or something like that. I know SM Pratt does that too, although he says it's sold out. I checked because I wanted to talk to him, but um, you could either do it through something like a Patreon, and that's cool because then you don't have to ruin the audio experience for people by
Hmm.
having ads in there. And it's cool because people who want to support you will want to support you. And they now have the ability to do that. I mean, we see this on Rev's channel, right? On YouTube. There's super chats in all of his streams. He probably doesn't need that. And he's getting it anyway
Hmm.
because fans want to support the people they love. And if you're giving them value, which you give massive value here, people almost feel bad taking it for free. And they're like, "Dude, just give me a way to pay you back," right? And yeah, a subscribe, a ding on the bell notification icon, which if you haven't done already, you should go do that right now. And a like, of course, that goes a long way. I'll do that for you. I know Squeaks usually does that on the other show, so I'll take that role right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But if you open up the opportunity for people to buy you a coffee, they're going to buy you coffee, right? And let's
Mhm.
let's do some math here, right? And let's start by talking about one of the most inspirational articles I've ever read. It was written by a man named Kevin Kelly in 2006. It's called "A Thousand True Fans." And for anybody out there listening, whether you want to be a content creator or an entrepreneur, or maybe you're a musician, artist, whatever, I need you to pay attention to this. A thousand true fans. When Kevin Kelly wrote this, it changed everything for so many people. And the thesis of this is essentially you don't need a million followers. You don't need a million subscribers. You don't need a blockbuster hit to be successful. You just need 1,000 true fans. A true fan being defined as somebody who, if you're a musician, right, they're going to drive 8 hours to come and listen to your set. And then they're going to wait for you backstage because they want to get a photo with you on Instagram. Or if you're a business owner and you come out with a product, they're not even reading the sales page. They're just clicking add to cart because it's you, right? They're the person who, if a troll shows up in the comments, they're like already fending them off for you before you even know they exist, right? Like that is a super fan. A super fan or a true fan, I mean, let's just pick a really small number. $100 a year. That's less than $10 a month. People who are fans of things, as we all know, will pay way more for stuff. So just imagine you have 1,000 people, 1,000 true fans paying you $100 a year. You have a six-figure business with just 1,000 people. That's one person a day for less than 3 years. Can you build a fan a day within 3 years? And when you think about like how much we're investing so that when we're 65, we can then unlock all these funds and stuff that we now have access to as we build our nest egg, it's like, dude, this is a crazy opportunity. And now we have the tools available to us to connect with people so much more deeply, like podcasts. And you're likely making more than one fan a day, by the way. I mean, take Patreon, for example. Let's say you have, a person who's like, yo, Pokemon Radar, love your show. I want to pledge $1 per episode. I know you come out weekly. So that's $4 a month. That's a cup of coffee to support you for the whole month. If you have 1,000 people doing that, that's like 4 grand a month
Yeah.
for doing nothing different,
Wow.
right? It's pretty crazy when you open up the idea that your fans want to support you and will feel good about it. And then that can help you build out the show more,
Hmm.
invest more into equipment, get access to more different people, more knowledge, and then make the show even better for them.
Hmm.
So that's I don't know if that helps, but
It does. I have a Patreon, and I thankfully have some great patrons that are pledging some money there that I clearly told them that I'm not doing anything here right now. This is purely to support my stuff, and I appreciate everything that you guys do for me. So I've been searching for an idea to bring the Patreon for those that want to support me at a greater pace, and I think that is
what are you thinking of?
I think that's going to be the route is an additional time to each podcast that we do. Now, of course, I would like to structure that properly so that it has a nice focus. Again, we talk about focus on the type of
Mhm.
content that is provided to those people. Um, so that'll come obviously with a lot more uh, uh, preparation and structure built into my podcast themselves moving forward.
Yeah, yeah.
I do also offer consultation services. It's just more private to the people that ask. So that I've always wanted to throw that on there as well because I have helped a lot of people sell some very high end items, and it's a network thing that my network, a lot of people's networks now within Pokemon is worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions at this
Yeah.
point. So,
Your
uh,
network is your net worth, really.
yeah.
Um, dude, I love that idea. I mean, I follow some people who talk about Tesla stock, right? And I follow them on Patreon because every morning they give me the information that they're going to give to everybody else, but I get it first.
Mm,
That's worth it to me to pay for. Just like you could literally do the same thing. You just give it to them first. And for many people, that's valuable, especially when it comes to stocks and things where time is money, right?
yeah.
Maybe there's a weekly report or wrap up. There's also this idea of there's a website called Substack, and you can do this on another tool called ConvertKit right now, which is a email service provider that I'm actually an advisor for. But anyway, you can have a paid newsletter, and this is very popular. And this started in the Silicon Valley area, and now it's kind of infiltrated everything from arts and crafts to parenting advice. You can set up a newsletter that comes out, I don't know, every week, every twice a week or what have you, and people will pay to get access to that newsletter. So for you, being a fan of your show, if I had some insider information about some stuff that was happening that could help me in the investments that I make, that I can get exactly when I need it, I mean, I would pay you for that. It would be worth a subscription. And the cool thing about that is like Patreon, it's like, recurring income.
Hmm.
I mean, even let's say it's $10 a month, times that by 100 people, there's $1,000 a month coming in. And then the next month you get another 100 people. Well, you had the first people from the first month, and now you've added on the second month, and it can just continue stacking and stacking. So recurring income is really the passive income, holy grail, if you will. But it
Hmm.
never starts passive; it's always very active. But
Right.
dude, there's 101,000 ways that you can make money, but it always comes to what value can you provide for your listeners. It might be an interesting exercise for everybody listening right now to go, yo, I would pay you if only you gave me this. It might be interesting to hear directly from who it is that you would be serving. And that's actually, I often give people who want to start businesses. It's like, are you just guessing? Or do you want to have conversations with those who you're going to be serving so you'll know exactly what to do?
Hmm.
And if you haven't already had conversations with the people who are listening to the show, you should. I mean, you are right now, but even more so that you can just know. You just know. And then it's not even like, "Oh, I hope this works." You're like, "No, this is what they need. They told me, and here it is."
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, I've definitely very thankful now. I've noticed a lot of my videos are getting to a point where I could easily bring in a solid Q&A type content, maybe even like on a weekly basis with how many people are commenting and the questions they have. So um,
Yeah.
it's really great seeing
That's verified on Rev's channel because every stream, because I'm a mod for his live stream now, every stream somebody goes, "Can you answer questions for me?" He goes, "Well, I don't have time anymore. You can go back to my archive and check out the old Q&A on Saturdays, but I might start that up again soon."
hmm.
I mean, access is something people will pay for.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I think that's a great idea.
yeah. Well, I want to give you a little tidbit here right now, since you've mentioned the name Gary Vee a little bit, and
Yeah.
um, I caught this the other day. I think he was doing his I don't know if it's a weekly underrated overrated segment that he does on Instagram,
Yeah.
and he was asked about Dragon Ball Z, not specifically the card game, but Dragon Ball
No,
Z as a whole.
I see you and I know about your collection. Yeah.
And he said like grossly underrated, and he even said he would like to own the IP at one point, which blew my mind.
Wow.
Um,
That's like your version of owning the Jets.
yeah, exactly. I mean, for those that have been watching the previous few videos, I've been talking about Dragon Ball Z a lot because I'm getting very close to finishing my collection, but also I've seen I'm seeing a pretty great opportunity here. Again, super high risk. I always lead off with that because it's a
Mhm.
dead game, and it's nothing like Pokemon. But I mean, to me, and hearing that from someone like Gary Vee, who I didn't think would know a lick about Dragon Ball Z, wanting to own it one day for thinking it's a great business transaction, leads me to believe that I am again right with my intuition here. So I'm really excited now to see what happens in the Dragon Ball Z world, not just the cards, but everything, because
That's really cool.
it is a very
I have a question
large.
about that.
Yeah.
Now that you know and have heard this from Gary, you just said like I'm interested to just kind of see what happens. Are you going to do anything? Or like does this inspire you to dig deeper or invest more or reach out to Gary to just, see what's happening? Like what does this get you to do?
Hmm.
Because that, as Squeak says, is the fourth and final position that it takes when you hear news about something, you take action on it.
Yeah.
That's that's what Squeak says.
Yeah.
I've been diving into all your guys' stuff, but uh, what are you going to do now that he said that?
So I've already taken that step of trying to get in touch with Gary Vee. I've talked to uh, I don't know his role, but Dustin. Um, I actually talked to Dustin a long time ago, trying to get on T with Gary Vee for Pokemon,
Mhm.
and then I had found out that PokeRev had taken a slot, so I figured, I probably won't have anything else to share at that time. But I think for Dragon Ball Z, now that he mentioned that, if I can swoop in there for whatever he brings back T with Gary Vee, that could be an interesting conversation to have. Um, so I am going to be chasing that. I've already invested, I don't know the exact amount, somewhere between 25 and 30,000 now into Dragon Ball Z, the vintage card game,
Mhm.
not any of the new stuff. Um, and although I'm continuing to buy um, certain pieces for the personal collection, I also have my eyes on. I have buy list prices set up for things that I I see good opportunity in, and I'm also working on getting some graded cards in this world as well, to
Nice.
not only have for myself but to provide to others who may be interested. And there's some clear interest. So those are my two main focuses right now. Is uh, again finishing the collection, but figuring out what true interest there is in the card game.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
Kamehameha. Just I
Is
used to
it?
watch DBZ.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, super long series, but a lot of us are very aware of the memes and I guess, the grasp of the show. So is there, now that you're looking at Pokemon, is there anything else outside of Pokemon? Is there any non-card collectibles that you're looking at in Pokemon? What unique things are have your eye?
Yeah, no, that's a great thought. I mean, I do have a collection of Back to the Future memorabilia.
Right.
I behind me here on right there, I have a 70 millimeter roll of a trailer of Back to the Future that was played in the movie theaters from 1985, and it was actually played in a movie theater. And I have that. I bought that for a couple $1,000s, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Have yet to put it on a spool and play it, but I put it up to the light. I can see the scenes, and it's really awesome. And I have it in a case. I also am a pretty big fan of Nolan Ryan. He was my favorite baseball player growing up. I even went to baseball camp once, and I was the only one uh, who they had been like, "Oh, who's your favorite player?" And I was like, "Barry Bonds, Jose Canseco, like all the big hitters."
Mhm.
And I was the only one to mention Nolan Ryan, and I just got laughed at all the time for that because it was a batting camp, and I said Nolan Ryan was my favorite player.
Mhm.
It was weird, but anyway, I have a signed ball from him, and I remember when I was a kid, I wrote to him. I wrote. That's what we used to do back in the day. I don't know when you were a kid if this was still going on, but because I'm old. I'm like 38. Um, so when I was a kid, I wrote to baseball teams, and I wrote to Don Mattingly Jr. I wrote to Nolan Ryan and a few others. I even wrote. I got into hockey for a little bit as well,
Mhm.
and I got autographs back. And Nolan Ryan's was the first one to come back, and I think that's why I fell in love with him because
Yep.
he sent that back, and I had a proxy 1968, I believe, Nolan Ryan rookie card. And it was interesting because literally the other day I looked on eBay and there was one actually a graded one, a real one that was for sale. And I'm like, that was like my first card I ever thought that was like cool, even though
Mhm.
I had like a fake one. So I was like, should I get it? I don't know. No, Pokemon. I gotta this is my focus right now. Um I am interested in flesh and blood though.
Oh, that's
I've
right.
been paying attention to that. I bought an alpha booster box not too long ago, but this was back in October when I first heard about the game and I first understood it, researched it. I loved the idea of it. Very, very similar to Magic the Gathering, of course. And I'm following
Mhm.
Rudy at Alpha Investments and all that stuff, and he talks about it quite a bit. And so I just bought a booster box because, like, okay, if I want to play, like, I'll have an Alpha edition,
Right.
and then I bought a first edition of some of the other newer boxes too. And if I don't, like, I can just sell it off, but at least I'll have it and sort of like reserve that now.
Mhm.
Well, I bought that for like $700, the Alpha Edition, Welcome to Rathy or whatever it's called.
Mhm.
Um, it's being sold for like $4,000 now on eBay.
Yeah.
And now I'm like starting to pay attention to the fact that there's all this talk about a bubble over there.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, I don't know what to do now. So it's just
I
fun. It's just, I
yeah,
don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
actually, I was talking to Squeaks and and he mentioned that you were talking about Flesh and Blood, um, and you're watching Alpha Investments. Rudy, great guy, great entertainer, incredible businessman. But um, he
Kind of
had
pushing it, right?
he had a hand in helping them make it.
Right.
He made it clear and open that he has no equity in the company, from what I understand. But yeah, he's been pushing that game since 2018, 2017, when they first really started. And um, although I think I haven't looked into it at all yet, but my understanding is it's a very well put together game from a structure standpoint. Art's
Hmm.
beautiful. I, I
Yes.
I do love that they did a first edition limited print run and all that, but it's not being allowed to happen. It's being forced right now, and it's very scary to me that people are not collecting it for the right reasons. They are purely collecting and buying this for that purpose of making
Just the
money,
investment purposes, right?
right? And that to me is the biggest red flag I've ever seen. And it's really unfortunate because I,
Well, I'm a part of that, right? Like I bought it because I'm like, well,
you made a great purchase. $700, it's worth a few thousand. I
yeah,
mean,
I mean, but I'm part of the problem, it seems, or at least, my thinking is, and again, my reasoning was like, if I want to get into it, I'll have it, but if
Right.
not, then at least it'll maybe be a good investment,
Mhm.
or it just goes to zero and it's just okay, I lose out, but
Mhm.
no risk, no reward, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Like
but I mean, you're right. There's probably people who are like just taking caseload and pallets of this stuff to then just kind of sit on and then wait. And I think Rudy said the other day that like this is why the unlimited prints are so important and why there's so many, because these are what serves the players. They're even like printing the alpha versions, knowing there's investors out there. That's why they're doing that. Like they know that's what's
yeah.
happening,
But why isn't Pokemon bringing back a first edition symbol? And I think
and they
there's
have more experience.
I think there's a reason behind it. So it does scare me. I think I hope it doesn't ruin the game completely, because if that aspect destroys the game, it would be a shame based off of the amount of time and effort they put into building that game.
Mhm.
A lot of the people that I've talked to that are investing big money in cards talked about buying quite a few of these boxes and at this peak price, and I highly advised against it. So I think you're at a great price point where you probably don't have to worry about it too much anymore. But yeah, I'm just that is a huge red flag to me right now. I mean, it's skyrocketed and it has no history. There's no reason for it to have skyrocketed. So
Mhm.
it's a very very high risk, high reward situation. I actually think low reward, high risk, low reward at this point with where the prices are at. Um, so that was an interesting one. Hopefully, you don't get too caught up, but who knows? Maybe it will do incredible. I don't know. That's just how I
We'll
feel.
see. I mean,
Yeah.
that's and this is actually interesting because this I wanted to ask you this question. It's like with Pokemon, and this can happen in the world of business too with stocks, but like I feel like with stocks in particular, and like specifically Tesla, I know their roadmap, I know their plan, I know their balance sheets, I know their numbers, I know everything about them. And not everything about them, but I
Right.
have a great understanding of what's happening in the business.
Hmm.
And with Pokemon and the market of Pokemon cards, it's like I don't know what's happening. I'm almost just speculating or hoping where I know Tesla's going to have over 1 million cars if everything goes according to plan, sold and delivered next year. I mean, they were at 499,450 this year, with very
Hmm.
close to 500,000. And like I don't know how many, for example, like the big news coming out soon is 25th anniversary Shining Fates, and then of course there's this card called Special Delivery Charizard, which everybody's talking about.
Hmm.
Yes, I've been going to the Pokemon Center every day just to see, but Pokemon seems to be making some attempt to control the ability for people to just hoard them and then sell them for more. They know that's happening, but it's
Hmm.
like, how many of them are there?
Hmm.
That affects price. Who like there's just I don't know. It's weird because like it's second market, right? They
Hmm.
just distribute them and then kind of whatever happens happens, and they just keep making cards. So it's like I feel lost
Yeah.
as a Pokemon collector. As somebody investing in stocks, I feel confident, absolutely confident with my stock portfolio and the things I'm investing in. And right now, I'm also investing in ARCG, which is a genomics sort of situation from Kathy Wood and her firm. And like I'm learning all about genomics right now, and I am just understanding that as a business model now and what it will do for us as humans. It's like I have no idea what's happening, man.
See,
Like,
that's exactly how I feel. When I had sold a lot of my stuff earlier in 2020, I consciously, you know, put in the effort to I put $10,000 aside into a trading account to get comfortability with trading in the stock market. And although I did quite well in a short period of time, I quickly came to the realization that I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't
also the
understand.
opposite.
Yeah, completely the
Yeah.
opposite. And I started seeing Pokemon upticking. I'm like, why did I think this was the right decision? I knew Pokemon. I know Pokemon. And because of that choice that I made, I missed out on crazy amounts of return because I wanted to venture into something else, which I do think there's going to be a lot of value from what I did there. And
Yeah.
of course, moving on in the future, that's where I want to be at. But yeah, I have so much knowledge, and it's a different type of knowledge. I don't, like you said, I don't know the print runs of this stuff. They don't tell us. They don't make that available. You can dive into the Pokemon into their corporate books, I'm sure, and understand what their roadmap is from a product standpoint, but they're not talking about print run numbers. I mean, I'm sure they talk about expectation of sales of their new video game or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, from that end, it's a completely the opposite. And I've I have this way of thinking where I try to look at everything I'm doing from a lot of different viewpoints, and it is kind of dangerous to myself because I have a tough time making decisions sometimes. But
Mhm.
um, I have this feeling sometimes that I am overly confident with the information that I have with Pokemon. Is that going to hurt me at some point? Just like how you're saying with Tesla, how much you know and understand, and how much time and effort you're putting into doing the research and listening to. I forget his name. I saw that podcast the other day. Um,
Rob Mauer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, is there an overconfidence you think on your end of Tesla? I mean, to me, I've looked at Tesla. I've paid attention. Not into that depth, but to me right now, the amount of money that is thrown into the stock and how much is being traded and the value that people are perceiving is a value that is 10 years in the future, not today. And I'm seeing that's just my feeling from a very basic level of kind of the economy as a whole right now. A lot of these stocks, Bitcoin included, are currently trading at a perceived value 5, 10 years into the future, which has happened in Pokemon as well too. I think with
Mhm.
certain cards like the PSA 10 first edition Charizard, how those skyrocketed, and I think that's a huge similarity right now in both the stock market and Pokemon collectibles as a whole. Is people have this fear of missing out and are paying this, in my opinion, ridiculous premium for
Yeah.
a
The FOMO's
stock,
real.
for a
That's for
card.
sure. And
Yeah.
the multiples on Tesla, all the bear cases are more like, well, it's just a car company. They've only produced and delivered this many cars. Toyota's delivered way more.
Right.
So why in the heck is Tesla outpacing and is the number one car company in the world? And now I think it just overtook Facebook, in fact, in terms of total company value, over $800 billion. It's insane.
Hmm.
But you're right. It's because all these young investors coming in are thinking about the future and what the company's going to do. It's totally baked into it. Um, and like you said, Bitcoin and this always is like somebody who's coming from the investor and the entrepreneurial world. I'm like, okay, the 25,000, 30,000 I put into Pokemon, like I could hire a new team member to help me develop two more online courses that could make me an additional $500,000 next year. And it's like, where does this money go? Or if I put that $30,000 into Tesla at the beginning of the year,
Hmm.
I mean, I would have an additional $200,000 right now.
That's no fun.
But then I'm not playing Pokemon and hanging out and talking to Pokemon Radar. So I don't know. Money is such an emotional thing, and it's
Hmm.
it's just it's an interesting thing to navigate. And
Yeah.
there's always lessons being learned. And for me, it's trying to get as much information as possible. The more information I get, the more likely I am to stack things in my favor when I do make a decision.
Hmm. Yeah. That's what it's all about is making the best decision for yourself at that time and living with it. I mean, the amount of hindsight conversations that are being had in Pokemon, I'm sure, are being had in the Tesla world. Um,
Oh yeah.
and it will be like that forever. And, the other argument that I counter with myself on Tesla is, yeah, the future of Tesla looks incredibly bright with the technology that they're providing can just cross over so many different platforms, avenues, industries that it,
Mhm.
it does make sense in that aspect. But yeah, it's just crazy for all of us right now, and I think it's hard to stay grounded and really try to understand where we're at in our markets, in our world, and it's making things interesting to say the least. I'm
I
having
mean, yeah,
having fun with it.
there's definitely not a day that goes by where something's happened and it's just like, well, wow, what does this mean really? What does it mean for our future? We don't know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing. It's like with Pokemon, like there could be another Logan moment
Hmm.
and then things skyrocket even more, or things just completely fall and crash. Same thing can happen with Tesla, right? Like
Right.
there's the same risks. Um, Knock on wood, something could happen to Elon. And I've listened to a lot of podcast episodes about, well, what if that were to happen? What would happen to the stock and the company? I mean, we saw what happened with Apple when Steve Jobs passed, and they're not insusceptible to external factors making an impact on ultimately what is happening with the company, and then of course the investors who are involved with that. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. But again, I try to live every day to the fullest. I try to remove as much toxicity as possible. I
Yeah.
just try to have fun. I'm having fun doing this Pokemon thing, man. It is making me
Good.
feel like a kid again.
Good.
Like I just bought these like playing cards
Yep.
from the Japan store that are like these from the Mario Pikachu stuff, and I like spent 3 hours
Ah.
yesterday after the kids went to bed, like just trying to find videos of people walking through Kyoto
Hmm.
October 29th, 2016, which is when that event came out. And I found some amazing photos. I felt like I was in Japan when this Mario Pikachu thing happened, and the hype was real. It was on Verge, it was on Forbes, and everything, stuff I didn't even know. So these cards, actually, part of what really got me interested in investing was one of my first investments were the Mario Pikachu promos from
Okay.
XY in 2016. I got a full PSA 10 set for $600. The
Wow.
full art, the half art for both Mario and Luigi, all four PSA 10 for 600. And my buddy Chris Ducker from England, he's also into Pokemon too. He and his kid and my kid are all friends, and we share pulls with each other.
Hmm.
He messaged me the other day. He's like, "Dude, have you checked your?" And this was October. He's like, "Dude, did you check the prices of your cards recently?" I'm like, "No, why?" And he's like, "Just check." And I was like, "Holy crap! These Mario cards were being sold for as a set $3,000. Just yesterday,
Hmm.
a few were sold for over $6,000."
Yeah.
And it's like, that's awesome that I got them just simply because I like them,
Right.
but now they're going up in value too. What else do I like that I think has a chance to go up? And then this begs the discussion of like versus collectible versus just purely investment. How am I going to let go of things? That's something I'm scared of. What if I do see a good opportunity and things are high, but I really love this card? Um, haven't quite gotten there yet because I'm still sort of building the collection, and I have yet to have my first eBay listing
Okay.
for sort of removing some of the inventory, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little different. A lot of us that started in Pokemon uh, with not deep pockets and needing, having the necessity to buy and sell and build. It's a different mindset. So that is interesting. I mean, what's something that's on your radar right now outside of the I guess the packs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think a little forward, and I am really interested in this Lucky Stadium promotion from New York, 2001.
Hmm.
It is actually the first version of what is the special delivery Charizard. It has Charizard flying over New York, and Pikachu and Pichu are on his back. And the artwork for the new promo is coming out. So I want to get my hands on that card because I think that
Interesting.
there's a really amazing story there, and I could tell a really cool story in a video about how that artwork is connected to the new special delivery Charizard. And I'm also imagining like the title, like I have the original special delivery Charizard, and people are like gonna want to click on it, and it's like, no, it's the artwork, but you got to be a
Right.
little clickbaity.
I haven't put that
Um,
together yet. That's very, very smart. Wow, that's
oh, thank
interesting.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's really cool, and, like, I like interesting things like that. Like, that's, like, a lot of my most special cards are I'm looking at them now, it's like Pikachu dressed up as, Gyarados and
Hmm.
Rayquaza, and,
Yep.
it's like,
Yeah.
why is he doing that? But I don't know, it's just, like, weird promo cards that I know people can't get in packs,
Hmm.
that you have to be in a special place to get them, just like the trophy cards. It's like my own little mini version of a trophy card, if you
Hmm.
will, and I like that rarity, I like that scarcity factor in there. Plus, I just think they're awesome, and, like,
Yeah.
you can't really lose with Pikachu, especially when he's dressed up as, Eevee or something.
Right.
So
Right. And I just recorded a podcast today that will come out, well, the day before this drops. Um, Another kind of gloomy is Pokemon Too Big to Fail, and we were talking about the kind of the expansion of Pokemon centers in Japan and the idea of them branching out again to other regions. So if they ever open up another Pokemon center in New York, that's another potential huge plus for that Lucky Stadium.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
I'm working a deal out with somebody right
I
now. And
like that idea a lot, and I might have to pick one. That's something that I've done with all my podcasts. There's just the majority of them. Uh, Whoever I've had on, I've kind of bought something or helped them find something that they either had in their collection or were looking for, and I think that's something that I'm going to pick up now because of this conversation. So
dude, that's awesome. Well,
help,
that makes me feel confident
yeah,
now. Like,
helping each other
and
out.
now I'm probably gonna blow a load of money on stuff that is unnecessary because of you. No, I'm just kidding. Um, no, I mean, I'm not like, and there's these other dudes, and they're great and they're they were the ones who had the experience with the dude who bought the box that was resealed and dumb money and stuff, and they got like they're truly deep pockets, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like kind of throwing things around. Like I want to take a calculated approach, and I know they are too, but
Hmm.
it's not about the money. The money is sort of the hook,
Right.
right? Like part of my vision with my channel is yes, people are interested in the money and the investment side. That's the hook. I'm going to bring people in, but in my videos, I'm going to teach, I'm going to educate, just like you commented on earlier.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of life lessons to be learned and a lot of ties into entrepreneurship. Like I would love to have somebody in the future. And I always think about this like, okay, what is an ideal situation about something I'm doing right now that I would just like be super stoked about in the future? I'd be super stoked if somebody down the road, I don't know, I'm 50 years old or something, and somebody goes, "Dude, are you Pat Flynn?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, I found your Pokemon channel a long time ago, and then I found your stuff about business, and me and my family, we run our business from home now, and because of you, I get to spend more time with my kids. Like, thank you."
Hmm.
And like this channel could allow me to do that. And it's already, I'm already meeting so many new people who have gotten there's a lot of people, Poke Kenono, Poke Kobe, Jeff the Ref, and other people, Julian, several people who I can name
Hmm.
who are now in my morning streams on my personal YouTube channel, Pat Flynn, who came from the Pokemon world, and now they're getting advice. And Rob, from Rob Mob,
Polish
like
Rob.
his team,
Yeah.
yeah, Polish Rob. He came in and was just like interacting with other people in my community. It's like, dude, this is sick. Like
Yeah.
we're kind of meshing some things together here.
Yeah, no, that's great. That was going to be my next little question. There was what was your goal and your focus for your channel specifically? So that's good. I like that. It's you're starting to see a lot of different people from different walks of life come into Pokemon, mostly financial advisors at this point, coming in and giving their 2 cents on Pokemon, which is great, and offering fair comparisons to, how they handle their portfolios or their customers' portfolios and tying that into
Mhm.
Pokemon. So it's nice to get an influx of different people in different walks of life to share that knowledge with us because there's a ton of entrepreneurs being created right now, myself included, surrounded by the Pokemon space. And, you know, for me, I don't see I just have this drive and motivation to do so much, and I don't want Pokemon to be my core business. I want Pokemon to be my side hobby, my side gig that brings in extra income that I can build a
Mhm.
collection with. And I foresee a future in podcasting, listening to you and listening to your ideas on how. I mean, just the simple fact of there's only 1 million podcasters and seeing the growth of YouTube, of how many YouTube channels hit 1 million subscribers this year. Like
Yeah,
that is just exponentially growing so fast. So I do really see an opportunity here in the podcast world, and you've opened my eyes to that. It's a lot brighter now. So thank you for that.
that's awesome. No, you're
And
welcome. You had mentioned your Pokemon stuff would be a side hustle, and that's cool. But I think that you should see it as a launching pad,
yeah,
right? It is like the
yeah,
next step that then gives you access to other new things wherever you want to go. It's
hmm,
it's not this it's not the side. It's like the thing you're on that's going to lift you up and move on to the next ladder. And one of my favorite books is a book by Walter Isaacson. He's famous because he writes biographies. He's written many of them, Steve Jobs, and my favorite one is Benjamin Franklin. And I remember reading this biography. It's like this thick. It's so big, 700 some odd pages or whatever. And I remember reading it, and I was at like page 60, and he had just turned 40. The 600 and 40 pages that were the left that were remaining in the book, whereas everything that we know him for happened after the age of 40.
Hmm.
I'm 38. I'm not even 40 yet. And I'm like, well, I'm still writing my story. I still have the ability to leave any legacy I want. What is it? What do I want that to be? And I have a lot of big goals and things related to education and kids and entrepreneurship and all that in the future. But like, same with you. You are in the first, 40 pages of this giant biography that you're creating, and you get to choose what the rest of the story is about. And that's all of you watching or listening to this right now. And it's just that inspired me so much. And that hopefully should encourage maybe some of you who maybe feel like you're too late or older to realize that, yo, you have so much left to do that can
Hmm.
help so many people. You could become known for something completely different, and your past does not dictate your future. So a little head talk there, but
Yeah.
that gets me inspired about the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a constant movement. Pokemon was the side gig, was the side hobby that that allowed me to leave my job that I just dreaded waking up in the morning, and now it is my main focus right now. And the podcast is a side gig, and I'm hoping that that next side gig takes over, and then I just keep on building and building and building and finding
Yeah.
that new hustle because it's a load of fun. I'm really really enjoying it, and I can't thank you enough for wow 2 hours of your time tonight
I didn't
to
even know it was 2 hours. I literally looked and I was like, "Wow, it's actually been 2 hours."
This was an incredible conversation. I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from this, myself included. I'm definitely going to be going back and listening to this whole thing one, two, three times over. Um, and I really hope the best and wish you the best of luck with Pokemon. Any questions that you have,
Thank you, man.
let me know. I'll give my intuition on it. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing where your video's going. I am loving it. The editing you're doing is great. The format you're doing is great, telling the stories. So I'm really looking forward to each and every video, and I hope to once I get a little bit more of my stuff set up properly to end up on uh, your personal Pat Flynn show there where you critique websites and podcasts. So I'll look forward to some real constructive criticism there where you can pick me
Yeah,
apart
man.
and help me improve.
Dude, honestly, you don't need to wait for that. Just anytime you feel you need some help or want some eyeballs on something, you let me know. Um, and I'll reach out to Gary for you. I'll see if there might be something there to maybe just push that along a little bit because I think
Oh,
that
great.
that is really interesting. I can't guarantee anything, obviously, but
Right.
you've helped me out so much. And just again, thank you for having me on the show, and I'll see what I can do there. But and thank you everybody if you've watched this all the way through. Just appreciate you so much, and don't forget to hit that like button.
That's right. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, do it all. Follow Pat Flynn, Deep Pocket Monster on YouTube now. Are you gonna get an Instagram coming out with that, or is it what's your
Dude,
game plan? We don't know. Is that too much?
oh man, we could talk another half hour about branding and personal branding. I'm probably just going to keep everything on Pat Flynn because that's Pokemon is now part of who I am, and
Yep,
everything else is too. So at Pat Flynn on Instagram.
I like that. Perfect. Well, thank you again. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and have a great rest of your week.